It's a painful fact that discrimination has been part of the Asian American experience throughout this nation's history. From the Chinese Exclusion Act of the late 1800s and the internment of 120,000 Japanese Americans during World War II to the decades of immigration bans and restrictions, racial violence, and stereotypes, it's all laid out in the new PBS documentary Asian Americans. And unfortunately, we're living through a continuation of the trend today.
We continue our relentless effort to defeat the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus.
And against that backdrop, reports of harassment, even attacks on Asian Americans have been on the rise. Last month, the FBI warned of a potential surge in hate crimes, and many Asian American healthcare workers have reported abuse, prompting this response from the hashtag #IamNotAVirus campaign.
I pump air into their lungs so they can breathe.
I comfort them when they are afraid.
I am not a virus.
Among those who have experienced harassment in recent weeks is Dr. Lucy Lee. She's an anesthesiology resident at MGH. Dr. Lee, it's good to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us what happened when you were leaving work? You were in the OR that day, leaving work on your way to the subway not too long ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago when things were starting to set in with the pandemic. And I happened to be leaving work early that day. It was still broad daylight, around 3 p.m. It was snowing, so I put my jacket hood on, and I was walking towards the T, trying to get out of the cold weather, when I saw a man in dark clothing start to cross the street and come towards me. And then at first, I couldn't hear him through my hood, but then gradually I could start making out the words, and he was saying things like, "Why are you Chinese people killing everyone? What is wrong with you? Why the F are you killing us?" And he continued multiple iterations of similar strains, saying the same things over and over. I picked up my pace, walked faster, and then he followed me for about a block saying similar things until he finally gave up and then walked away.
I'm going to ask a stupid question for which I apologize. What did that feel? I know I read in the Globe, you had not experienced anything like that in your life. I know many Asian Americans, as I said, are sadly experiencing now. What did that feel like?
Initially, my first thought was I have to get somewhere safe. There weren't that many people around, so I was initially just scared. And then after I got to like a nearby grocery store and there were people around, I called security. I was just very angry at the irony of the whole thing.
So, I remember as far back as 20 years ago, while his record was spotty on Muslims, just a week after 9/11, George W. Bush was talking about Muslim women walking out of the house with their faces covered and said things like, when they were harassed, "That's not the America I know. That shall not stand." What do we need to do as a society, as employers, as community members, to ensure that people who, like you, don't have to experience this kind of hate, Doctor?
So I think it's incredibly important to lead by example and to always be there and supportive of each other. Master Noel was incredibly supportive. The police and security department sent somebody to meet me immediately. I contacted my program director and chair of my department to notify them, and they looped me in on an email with one of the VPs at MGH who wrote me an incredibly thoughtful email and sought my input on sending out an email to all employees at partners to notify them of this incident that occurred and what to do about it. It's incredibly important for bystanders, if they feel safe, to stand up for the person being attacked and to defend them and say, "Hey, this is not okay. That's not right. You cannot say things like that." And it's incredibly important for us during times like these to check in with everyone.
Are you tentative when you go out now, or have you put that in the back of your mind, Dr. Lee?
It's sort of in the back of my mind. I'll be honest, initially in the few days afterwards, when I was walking into work or out of work, I would look around me a little bit to see if the guy was still hanging around. But then gradually that faded away, and it's sort of in the back of my mind now.
Dr. Lee, before you go, just in case that racist or others like him is watching, what do you do during the day before you leave to take the subway home?
So most of the anesthesia residents in our program, well, we're all being rotated through different rotations, and all of us have been spending time in ICUs taking care of COVID patients. So I've spent most of my time the past 2 months while at work in COVID ICUs.
Well, Doctor, I thank you for your work on behalf of, I'm sure, everybody watching, and I don't know how much it's worth, but I say virtually everybody watching the show supports you as much as we can from afar. Thanks for your strength and your work. Thanks for being with me.
And thank you for your work as well, everyone at the channel.
Thank you. Very kind. Thank you, Dr. Lee. And if you want to learn more about the history of discrimination against Asian Americans in this country, you can find the PBS series online at wgbh.org/Asian-Americans.